Listen up, boy, I be a coach, teaching how to think different with a new approach. I hope you're taking notes. Haters think it's jokes. They got me fired up, but they don't want the smoke.
Mic check 1 2 1 2, ladies and gentlemen. You're now in the building with your boy Coach K, and this is the first 5, season number 6. We continue the energy going forward. We're 6 for 6. We're on episode number 6 right now, and today's episode is going to be one for the ages. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of information we're going to unpack today with a very special guest, a person here to tell their story, and I look forward to having this conversation with them. Guarantee there will be a part 2, just giving you guys a heads up from now. I want to thank everyone who tunes in and taps in each and every week to listen to the First 5 podcasts. We really appreciate you guys. We are on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, as well as on YouTube. As you know, the First 5 is designed to motivate, inspire, empower, encourage, energize, educate, and elevate you, the listening audience, to do better, move better, and choose better, one step, one rep, and one breath at a time. And on the First 5 podcasts, conversations generally center around health, wellness, and fitness. But we aim to diversify our topics to learn more about what's really affecting people. A lot of people are going through some serious situations out there or have experienced some, and they need to share and talk about what has been bothering them, what's been on their minds lately, because we all need an outlet. We all need a way to express those things, because the more that we do, the more conversations are generated, and the more we get to learn about each other and be more empathetic towards each other, which is definitely what we need in the world today. I appreciate a good story of adversity that builds resilience, which in turn generates opportunities to lead by example, and I'm certain that we all do. From trials to triumph, learning about how a person has taken their experience and turned it into an experience for the people that they train, the businesses that they built, etc. And for the most part, these conversations are very refreshing. I'm going to ask everyone to do me a favor to gain some refreshment right now. Everyone take a collective breath. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. All right. And today's episode, it just might stop yours for a moment. It might even take it away. But hopefully it makes you appreciate every breath that you have available today and the days going forward. Our next guest is a person that I met a couple years back as a member of the RX1 All-Star team. I was privileged and invited to be on her team. As a couple of Anglophones, we got to have a conversation. It was cool. We struck up a conversation, and actually we were able to participate together, which was nice. She is a mother. She's a CrossFit athlete, an educator, a widow, and a survivor. An example of endurance needed not only in the competitive space, but in life, like many people out here. When she contacted me about wanting to share her story, I welcomed her without question, because like your family members, your friends, your colleagues, your former associates, your neighbors, and maybe even yourself, we're all going through something. But with obstacles come opportunities, with challenges come change, and with adversity comes resilience. And as part of that process, part of that process is learning about yourself and what we need to accept about ourselves in order to be better for others. Please welcome Erin Roberts.
Hi, my goodness, that's quite the intro.
Currently, Erin is nervous right now. If you guys can see on camera, she's slightly turning red, but that's okay.
But also very humble.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming. Like I mentioned before in the intro, when you contacted me about wanting to share your story, you had listened to one of my episodes before. I appreciate that. Appreciate everyone who taps in and listens. And you said, you know what, you're compelled to talk about your experience because you hope that your experience will benefit someone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
The first one that I listened to is you were talking about the hockey player who needed to be kinder to himself.
Yeah.
And after many years, I'm starting to understand that and starting to get there. Been very, very rough on myself.
Yeah.
But for many reasons, which we'll get to that story in not too long, I'm sure.
For sure.
But that's it. Over time, starting to definitely realize that, like we said, just chit-chatting before, I'm the only one I've got.
Yeah.
You know, yes, we have everyone around us, but if I'm not kind to myself, how can I expect others to as well?
There you go. It's all about how you treat yourself. Words do matter. The things that you tell yourself do matter. All those things play a part. It definitely helps you to build from adversity to be more resilient, for sure. And we're going to talk more about that. So let's just give the Coles notes real quick. So in chronological order, you had 5 deaths and a baby in 3.5 years. That sounds like a movie title.
Right? Yeah, I know, right? 3 weddings and a funeral. Well, we did 5 funerals and a child.
And a child as well. So if you want to give some more detail on that, for sure. So 2012, your mom passed away.
Yep.
Your step-grandmother passed away also in 2012. 2013 was your grandfather, your stepdad, and then probably the hardest hitting one, your husband.
Absolutely.
was in 2015. Okay. And then your beautiful daughter was born in 2013 and she's sporting crutches in 2024. Look at that.
Again.
Full circle all the way around. But explain, let's start first with the experience with your husband. Like, explain how that began and how things kind of transpired from there.
Sure. This is hilarious how we met. We met in university, actually. And first day I yelled at him. I 100% yelled at him. We were all waiting in line to get signatures from our teachers, our principal, what have you. And he was told to go into the line and wait. Well, the person told him to cut me off. And that just didn't work for me. So me being this, 5'6", height person, and he was 6'3", I was, excuse me, the back of the line is right over there. What are you doing in front of me? And okay, we moved on with our life.
Yeah.
A week later, I happened to walk into a new class, and there he is sitting at the back corner.
Love at first sight.
I went,
there you go.
Oh my gosh. So with my tail between my legs, I walked up to him and I went, look, I'm sorry. I was hungry. I needed to go to the washroom. I was a smoker at the time. I needed to have a cigarette. And you just really, the timing was horrible. And he said, no problem, sit down. And we ended up talking the whole class. And then we had the next class together. And then it was really funny. We kind of walked through campus together, and where we had to split, we said, okay, goodbye. And it was really weird. I went back to my roommate and I went, I just met this person. I have no idea. I've never had this feeling before, but that man's going to be in my life forever. 100%. I knew it. I didn't know how.
Wow.
And it was funny because he had a girlfriend at the time and we became best friends. So much so that everyone knew we were going to be together before we did. I went, no, he's got a girlfriend. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah.
That's what they all say.
Yeah, right?
Just kidding.
That's it. So, and we kind of got along because his family grew up on a lake up north, which is my grandfather had a cottage up there as well. So we maybe have crossed paths when we were younger and didn't know it. So yeah, it was just, it wasn't love at first sight. It was definitely friendship at first. Okay, second sight. Yeah. After the apology.
Love at first sound, but friendship
exactly.
from there. That's cool.
Yeah. And then we were together for 10.5 years, and it's we were working towards that fairy tale. Yeah. And we never fought. Yeah. People don't really believe me, but there's two arguments I would say that I remember. Other than that,
well, he's a smart man. He saw this 5'6" woman and said, "Let me not get her upset because she'll rip my head off if I do." Smart man. But it obviously transpired into the relationship that you had, and everything grew from there.
And it helps. He was such a great guy too.
For sure.
He was 6'3" and a little heavier set, but everyone will remember him from his laugh. Like anyone who's listening right now, they're going to be hearing his laugh in their minds because that was, he just had this nice belly laugh, and people really, really enjoyed him. He was a history teacher. Yeah. And it's funny because even this past summer at a friend's camper, I randomly met somebody who knew him. Oh, wow. And they taught together. And, it was just out of nowhere. She said, yeah, I love teaching at the school that she teaches. I went, oh, excuse me, pardon, what? And it turns out that they did lunch monitoring together. And then as she's telling me stories, I'm remembering the stories that he was telling me about her. And this is 8 years later. Yeah. So it's impressive how people touch our lives.
Yeah, they definitely do. They definitely do leave an impact, leave a mark. And he went through, when did he discover that he was sick?
So in February of 2014, he had a headache for a week. That's all it was. No other symptoms. And, we live out near Ontario. So he, went, it was a Sunday morning. I said, Quebec, Sunday morning. You're not going to find a walk-in when we still had walk-ins at that time. And so he went to Hawkesbury Hospital and he didn't come home that night because they found a 7-inch by 3 centimeter brain tumor.
Wow, 7-inch by 3 centimeters.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had seen the MRI of his head later on, and the whole left hemisphere of his brain was just kind of smushed up. And
wow.
Yeah, to about a third of the size that we would normally see.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was on a Sunday. Come the Thursday, so February 13th, he had I think his surgery was about 14 hours long. I got to see him for 5 minutes in the ICU. I had to drive home at midnight in a snowstorm. The next day, I actually signed at the notary's for our first house. Oh, wow. And then so I brought him back the keys February 14th, Valentine's Day, to our very first house together. Well, he's trying to recover from his first brain surgery. So,
wow.
Yeah, there were tears.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I can imagine. And you said that from there it was one surgery and another one that followed after that.
Yeah, pretty much. So there was the first one in February. Second one was not long after that in March. And then he had a third one, I think early 2015. And then they actually got in, I think, the second neurosurgeon in Canada and said, we want to go in a fourth time and we can do this and that. And he said, well, what are my chances? And they went 50-50. Okay, 50-50 what? That we give you a couple more months to live.
Wow.
Or become paraplegic. And he went, well, look, I'm sorry. He looks at me, he's like, hon, I need your permission. I'm so tired of being sore. I'm tired of being cut up. And honestly, if I become a paraplegic, I've got kiddo. She was barely 2 at the time. And he could not sit with the idea of, I'm already raising her pretty much by myself.
Yeah.
And then if he became a paraplegic, he couldn't put that on me.
Right.
And so he did ask for my permission. And of course, I was like, look, you need to do what you need to do. I'm not going to hold you back. I'm going to support you. And if that's it, that's it. And, we had a nice vacation at the end of May 2015. It was the first time he ever went on a plane. So that was really, really important from him.
Okay.
And then we came back, and I think within the next month, he'd spent, maybe 8 days at home. Other than that, was in the hospital, and that was the decline.
That was the decline from there. Wow. Yep. 3 brain surgeries in 6 weeks of radiation.
No, in a year and 3 months.
A year and 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's
and then 6 weeks of radiation before the third surgery. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it a surreal thing for you at that time, or was it like, man, I just went through this, and now this is happening to me?
No, I didn't have time to think of what did happen. It was, he's sick, he needs this, my daughter's this. It was, I look back on it now, and it's kind of not foggy because I went through it. Yeah. But it's almost like I went through it systematically. I went through it survival mode, actually, now that I think about it, survival mode, because I had, kiddo to raise. She was just a baby. And then I had him to take care of. And then I still had a full-time job and, taking care of everybody and everything, and had 2 dogs and a rabbit at the time. And, so it was, I couldn't think of what had happened. Right. It was okay, this is happening. What do I do? How do I help? So it was, Yeah, it's just a matter of continuing from where you left off. It's getting done what you have to get done. Getting done what you have to get done. Wow. And then he passed. Yes. Okay. And what was that like for you and for your daughter? Like, was it because he was in the hospital a lot, like, was it something you can get adapted to easily because he wasn't always home, or was it that? No, I don't think anyone gets adapted to that at all, because you go from being a wife to not in an instant, in literally one breath. Well, you still are. Let's be fair. Okay, yeah. You still are, okay? But I understand what you're saying. Yeah. But that's it. You go to having a spouse, who's there, whether he's physically capable or not, you still have that love for somebody. I still love him, and I know he still loves me regardless. Yeah. And he passed, and we were in love, and it wasn't, and this is another thing. Like, I can't be angry about it. And people don't necessarily understand how I don't, or never even did have anger over it. It wasn't, I don't mean to trigger anybody, but it wasn't suicide. It wasn't drugs. It wasn't an accident. And it wasn't even himself. I cannot blame any one person. Yeah. I have no what ifs. I have no, oh, well, what if I did this? He tried, he fought, I supported. That's it.
That's how it went, yeah.
And in terms of how it went for Kiddo and I, it was hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard. And, like we were discussing earlier, he passed, and then I went, holy moly, I don't know what I'm doing. He was the cook. He helped clean. He went, and then I started to think, my goodness, what did I do for him? I'm sure I did plenty.
Yeah, of
I'm
course,
sure I did
of course.
But it did hit me like a brick wall.
Yeah.
I don't do my taxes. It's just last week I posted on Facebook because I'm like, friends, this is the first time in almost 9 years I have to buy new summer tires. I have no clue what I'm doing. Please help me, because this is all stuff that he used to take care of. So I'm almost 9 years later, I'm still trying to adapt, still learning.
Yeah.
And it's weird, and stuff still keeps coming up.
Wow.
So it's was it easy to adapt because he was in the hospital? You never adapt. I think it did help me get to a place of understanding faster.
Yeah.
I can't say grief because I only recently found out, maybe last summer, that I hadn't grieved him. But then there's also a arm's length of secondary grief and loss, which I had not started working through. And I realized that last summer.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's it. It was just, I realized like he did a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Ladies, don't take your husbands for granted, okay? This one's for you, Brianna. Just kidding. I'm joking. Just kidding. But it does put in perspective
100%.
that when a person is, you're used to having things kind of going, not in a lazy manner, but
well, we get complacent.
yeah, you get complacent and you realize,
absolutely get
wow, this person did these things.
100%.
Now I have to learn them. Like I know of a friend of my mother-in-law's. She's older. Her husband died, and she didn't know how to drive.
Yeah.
So she just learned how to drive maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And she's like in her 80s, I think it is. So it's like she had to adapt. It just happened so late in life, but she had no choice, right?
Exactly.
Because her husband drove everywhere, drove her where she had to go. Yeah. So it does make you put things in perspective as to, the people who are with us, not even just your spouse, but even your friends, your family members, the things that they do.
Well, that's it, and there was one time, again, my daughter and I, it's now a girl house, right?
Yeah.
We've got long hair. I remember there was once I was having to pull out the hair from the blocked tub, and I was just so mad, thinking, this is not my job. I shouldn't have to do this. And I actually posted on Facebook saying, ladies, you really should kind of look around and see what they do for you. And I had a friend saying, geez, thank goodness. And then my dad, he was quite thankful that I had said something like that.
He lays back and goes,
right.
My work here is done.
But this one's for you, Dad. But yeah, it's just things like that where it's like, I shouldn't be picking out hair from the bathtub. But at the same time, why is it his job to do that? So there's definitely things that you learn that you didn't know you had to do when someone's not around.
Right, right. So major changes happen from there, stemming from those family members of yours that pass away, plus your husband being sick, then your daughter being born first.
Correct.
Before that, and then your husband passing away. So obviously he was young. Does she remember her dad?
Unfortunately, not.
No.
Because she was 2 years and about 4 months.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, she doesn't.
Doesn't
Unfortunately,
remember much.
No, and I find as she gets older, that's harder and harder on her.
Okay.
Because she can start to see, her friends having, their families out together, or, the girls doing something with their dads, and so it's starting. I've always talked to her age appropriately. Even when she was 2, I said, Daddy had a big, big, big Bobo in his head, and he's now up in the sky, and he can't, he's not here with us. You can talk to him. He's going to protect you, but he's not here physically with that, so age appropriate all the time. And then as she's getting older, it is it's more difficult.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because she's starting to comprehend it in different ways.
Right.
You know, and to start to see a little human becoming older and older, and that thought process and that grief process. I don't want to sound negative, but it is interesting in a way to see how she's growing up with that and how she's holding on or not, you know, and it's one thing I do notice, she tries to protect me.
You're right.
You know, and that actually I've seen in some widow support groups, and that very often enough, kids who lose a parent try not to burden the surviving parent because they see the bills, they see the car, they see everything that one parent is trying to do.
Yeah.
So they try not to burden them, but at the same time, that doesn't allow her her own space and grief and release. So we're trying.
Yeah.
We're trying.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's good that you're able to pick up on that.
Yeah.
And not be lost in your own feelings.
Right.
But be aware of hers, and then also to be able to deal with yours too.
Yeah, because I'm not the only one who lost him.
Yeah.
You know, and it's spouse grief is definitely different than parental grief.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I lost my mom, but I still have my dad.
Yeah.
So I can still call him up and still, you know, talk to him and, you know, still go visit him and share the passion he has with horses. And, you know, kiddo now loves to ride. So he actually goes and rides his horse. And so to see him watching his granddaughter, like, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so different too. My grief versus her grief is very different.
Yeah,
very different.
It's interesting even talking about that you mentioned that because a friend of mine in Toronto, her and her husband, they were trying to have a child and she had a miscarriage, and she pointed something out to me that I was like, I didn't even think about that. Everybody puts a lot of attention on the mother,
Absolutely,
but forget about. Also, you're not the only one that lost a child or lost somebody. The husband did too. So she was telling me that, and she said she didn't even think about it. And she was like, wow, she's getting all this outpouring from people. Oh, I'm so sorry. And no one said anything to him until she realized.
Anybody jumps on what you're saying. It's that you're not taking away from the mother. You're not taking away. Yeah. You know, because I just don't want anybody here right now to be like, okay, but the mother. Yeah. Yes, it's horrible. And I thank my stars. That's not a situation I've ever had to have. Right. And I thank my lucky stars for that. And I'm, you know, it's apparently 1 in 4 pregnancies, not just women. 1 in 4 pregnancies, this happens. Yeah. And it's horrible. But yes, she's not the only one in that story. Yeah. And we all have our own stories. Right. And even my sharing this story today is not to say my story is worse or better than anybody else's story. Not to say my grief is worse than kiddo's grief or my grief is worse than somebody else's, or I'm, you know, in such a worse off spot than somebody. That's not the point of me wanting to come and talk with you. It was more, I've been all through this and it's been for a reason. And I'd love if even one person feels better or inspired or motivated from this one conversation. Like I have goosebumps just saying it. If one person just feels even a tad better, then for me, I just feel so fulfilled.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. And that's the overall goal. The goal is to be able to educate and inform, but also to pass on information that people can definitely draw from and benefit from. Like I was telling you before in our conversation, we don't tap into each other enough. No, yeah. We really assume we see people move a certain way and we go, nah, they must be fine. Well, Erin's lifting, she's doing this whole CrossFit workout, she's fine. Or daughter's doing, riding horses and stuff, she's okay. But we don't take the time to actually go, hey, how are you doing?
That's it.
You know?
And with social media, it's so easy to lie. Very. And so easy to put up like a beautiful front. Yeah. And that's why like the last couple of Facebook posts that I've done, was trying to be real. Yeah. And it's there was a few weeks ago we were doing our 1RM back squats, and I used to do I've done 205. I failed it too. That was a huge burst to my ego. It hurt so bad. And I turned around and I walked into a corner so nobody could see. And I was like sucking back the tears. And then I went home and I went, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold the phone here. The fact that I missed that one lift, is that really the end of the world? And what does it mean? Okay, I've been doing a lot of inner work the last, let's say, 8-9 months.
Yeah.
And I've realized a heck of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And trying to be kinder to myself, you know? And I find it's so easy to sit in the negative.
For sure.
It's so easy to be like,
sure.
oh, well, I didn't do this and I
sure.
didn't do this good enough and I don't feel good enough and I could have done better and I should do better and I never, in any case, it's so easy to sit in that. So I wanted to challenge myself and say, okay, let's push through that uncomfortable zone. What did that, it's called a failure. I failed that lift, but what success did it bring? Okay, I'm sitting here. In all honesty, I have not been very consistent in terms of the gym. Ailments, winter, Monday, whatever. I haven't been consistent in my food. But where I have been consistent is my inner work. So why don't I give myself grace? I have at least been working on something. I haven't been working on my physical self, which I've actually been doing since my husband passed away. And that can be part of our another subject in a few moments. So I've done the physical, but now it's definitely time for that inner work, the mental work, the getting back to, not even getting back, but I never really found the real me.
Yeah.
And I was always so mean to myself. And I remember my coach, she'll giggle about this. She always tells me I'm way too hard on myself. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not that easy. It's not. It is not easy, but it's definitely possible if you push yourself to sit in the positives. It's not easy. I promise you it is not easy. And it's so uncomfortable. But then once you push through and be like, okay, I didn't make that lift.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling a heck of a lot better about myself. I'm giving myself more grace these days. And say, for example, for weight, I'm not too concerned about the number on the scale. I'm more concerned about the feeling on the inside of my body now.
Yeah.
So I find that, okay, that lift was a failure, but it was a success in so many ways because I sat in the very uncomfortable but positive zone to try and see that.
Yeah.
And that was huge.
And you know what? And you bring up that, and I think that's an amazing point. And there's something I want you to repeat. Again.
Gosh, what did I say now?
No, what you said about finding the successes even though you failed.
Yeah.
And sitting in the successes. Because we often do this. We go, I didn't make this thing and this happened, right? And we overly concern ourselves with what we didn't do. But a lot of it has to do with our programming. There's a book, I've referred to this in my stories many times because it's a book I actually read twice. I'm probably going to end up reading it again because the author actually tells you, like, you should read this more than once. It's called Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life. And the book, one part of the book talks about our paradigm is basically our format of how we do things. It's our process, it's our system, how we do things on a regular basis. And it gets programmed based on our experiences. And our experiences shape and mold how we do things on a daily basis. Even when we try not to, it's our subconscious that takes over and just does what it does, right? And a person's subconscious, like yours, for example, was programmed to be like, oh, I suck, I'm terrible, I'm this, I'm that, I'm trash, I'm blah, 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 which a lot of people have.
100%.
But then you wonder, okay, so what's the difference between a person who doesn't have that? Thing is that it's not that they don't have it. It's just that it's not as loud as what's in the positives. So their paradigm has been changed because they programmed or reprogrammed that paradigm to now amplify those things that are successes and more positives and give yourself grace versus the things that are negatives, which is what the entire world sits in, right? When we watch the news, the first news report is something bad. It's never, in lighter news today, something good. It's always murder happened on this, or some sort of like story of that's going to make people go, oh man, be in fear, be anxious. And then the lighter stories at the end. But we can change that by starting with what's going to be better.
Absolutely.
And yes, it's not wrong to touch on the things that aren't so good, because you need that. It's part of the story. It's part of the process.
100%.
But it's also recognizing that it doesn't have to be the loudest voice in the room. And I think that's what you were getting at with that, is that you have to make that adjustment.
And the word that you use that completely jumps out at me is anxious.
Mm-hmm.
We are so used to being so anxious and dysregulated these days. And I have a good friend, and I'm so thankful for her because both her and I are going through the journey of trying to feel better and be better on the inside for our own selves. And her and I, we can have these conversations and be like, ooh, oh, I just said this. Oh my goodness, we need to write this down, because like we have these epiphanies when we're talking, and then we can go on these laughing rants, and it's fantastic. But what we've really noticed is that it's so easy to sit in the anxiousness. Mm-hmm. Like you said, we've been programmed that way. So we're so programmed to actually be dysregulated that security almost feels wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, security, positivity, it almost feels wrong.
Yeah, you feel guilty.
You feel guilty, but you also feel like bizarre in a way, because that's not what we were programmed. Or how we were programmed. And to not feel the anxiousness and not feel dysregulated and not feel, I was trying to swear, so I'm not going to swear, but it's like, you know, try to not go so darn crazy.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting there in the positive, and it really kind of just, and I remember writing down this post that about the lift, and I went, I literally was able to take a breath. And it's as though I felt so much lighter.
That's fantastic.
Just in that one moment. And I think it's pushing through that uncomfortableness of working through the anxiety, working through the dysregulation, to, like, it can be even linked to what you said, to reprogram. And honor being okay. And honor yourself, really, you know, and accepting yourself. And okay, we're not all perfect. That's totally not what I'm saying. We're not all perfect. But like I tell kiddo, you are perfectly you, though.
You're one of one.
Well, that's it. Right?
And you're one of one.
And like I've told kiddo too, it's, you are the only one you will have for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. She has me, but she will never have me as long as she has herself. You know, so it's.
Well, we're dropping gems out
right?
here. Come on.
Holy moly.
All I'm hearing is ping, 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 ping. Diamonds.
Somebody's taking notes, right?
Man, listen.
But I finally enjoy like pushing through, and because there is good on the other side of dysregulation. I know it seems so bizarre and it's uncomfortable, but really, it's worth it. It's worth sitting there and being honest.
It's almost like, this is going to sound kind of odd to say, because I don't want to compare two things together that are far apart, but we talk about discomfort, okay? Some people are so afraid of it that they just don't want to even like feel it. You know, put on the tightest shirt that you have at home. Put on the tightest pair of pants that you have at home and just walk around your block for a bit. That's discomfort.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
And I guarantee that's more comfortable than the discomfort that you go through in growth. But at the same time, at least you have an idea as to understand, actually, it's not that bad, because eventually what happens is it stretches. And you fit into those pants, you fit into that shirt, or your body adjusts, your body adapts, and you're able to maybe lose a little bit, and it helps you to fit into those things even better. I use that example just to say that there's nothing wrong with being uncomfortable. It's actually going to help you in the long run, right? When we think of plants, right? You think because we don't hear plants can't speak to us. Doesn't mean that they're not having a hard time having to grow some roots in this soil, being packed underneath like dirt and whatnot, to have to grow through piles and piles of soil to be able to get above, to get some sunlight, to get some water. Like, we have to, if we think of things in that manner, it makes the world of a difference.
Yes.
Because now we're able to adjust our viewpoint and see, okay, so I went through this this is okay. And I survived. I went through this and I was okay. I'm getting the help I need to in order to better myself in this regard. Something else is going to come that's going to make you probably feel even more uncomfortable. But at least you have a track record of what you've done to say, I've done this before. I've made it happen. We can make it happen again, or we can work through it again. And I think it's important that we emphasize that. People need to understand in anything you're trying to do. If your goal is to lose weight, if your goal is to save money, if your goal is to be a better cook, if your goal is to be a better spouse, it's going to be uncomfortable because you're going to suck.
Yep.
You're going to be terrible, but you're only terrible temporarily. You're terrible if you stop when you're terrible, but if you keep going, you're going to get better.
Yep.
So, and that discomfort is going to now become comfortable.
Yeah.
It's going to become your new skin. It's going to become the norm until you now have to challenge yourself again, or you face another challenge that's going to help you to go in a different direction. You were going to say?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it's, I don't hide it too. And I've started therapy and it's,
I was going to ask you about that too.
Yeah. I did start therapy. And only recently, really, in all honesty, should have been a long time ago, but hey,
that's okay.
Again, shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah.
And learning from it. So yes, I did start therapy. And one thing that was really interesting, one time my therapist, we were talking and it hit, again, it just kind of flashed in my face when she's, how are you doing? I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm doing really well. And da-da-da-da. She's like, okay, I am so glad you're doing well. Don't forget, you can't be on a high all the time. You will have the ups and the
Ebbs and
downs, the
flows.
ups and the downs.
Yep.
That's it. So it's to relish in the good times, take advantage of the good times. And when it's low, don't forget, it will be good again. And you have to do that work to get there.
Yeah.
So it was just, to be prepared for the wave.
Yeah.
Because it will happen. And right now I'm doing fantastic.
That's awesome.
Will something happen? Hey, that's how my life seems to go.
That's
but we will learn from it.
You're gonna learn from it. Speaking on the topic of waves. So after he passed,
Yes,
you quit smoking.
I did.
What was that experience like?
So I quit smoking. A lot of people don't believe it, but I quit smoking the day after his celebration of life.
Okay.
Day after. I had one cigarette left in my pack. And I'd been smoking since I was 17. He passed away. I was 32. You guys do the math. Just because I can't right now. But
Carry the 7 plus 5.
Too
Yeah,
much.
gotcha.
And so him and I, he was a smoker as well. And he loved to have his cigarette, his beer. And I, would love to spend time with him, obviously. And so that was just, it is what it is. And when he was sick, I would use the smoking as my breaks from being exhausted, breaks from being in the hospital. It was just literally a way for me to have a time for myself when there was no time for myself. So when he passed and I only had one, so after the celebration of life, I sat there and I only had the one cigarette left. And I remember I was sitting on my front porch and I went, why? Why am I going to have a smoke? Because I'm not enjoying it with him anymore. I've tried to quit in the past. I want to quit. He's no longer in pain.
Yeah.
So I don't need to use smoking a cigarette as an excuse for a break from my life. He's no longer in pain. He's put to rest. So what is my excuse for smoking now?
Yeah.
Because I remember as a smoker, we always had excuses not to quit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too hard. Oh, it's then. Well, now this was not even an excuse to quit. It was my reason. Yes, kiddo, of course, right? To be there for her. But it was more, really I smoked and I enjoyed it with him.
Yeah. And it didn't serve a purpose anymore.
Didn't serve a purpose anymore. Exactly. And kind of to continue the conversation in a different route, I had also applied for weight loss surgery.
Okay.
And they would not, one of the requirements was to quit smoking before I would have the surgery.
Right. Here comes another wave. Here we go.
Here's another one.
So once you were free of that, how did it feel to not, I know that some things are, obviously it's a habit. You kind of go reach to your purse, reach to your pocket. You're used to kind of the same hand motion and grabbing and lighting. But then you now had to retrain yourself to not have to do that? How did that go?
So I was, it was funny. I was still doing the movements, but without a cigarette. So when driving, I would still open the car window while driving. And I actually would take out a pen and I had taken out the ink from the cartridge and I would literally bite on the pen. Obviously, no ink, so it wouldn't splatter all over my face.
Okay, at first I was like, you what?
Yeah, I don't know. See, there was definitely thought behind it because I didn't want ink all over my face.
Right.
But yeah, so I would chew on the empty pen casing, and so that still gave me the feeling, and then it would kind of it dissipated. It wasn't, oh, I'm gonna have one. Like in the past, I'd quit and be like, okay, I'm just gonna have one and I'll be all right. No, I won't.
Yeah.
This one, there was no, oh, well, what if? Oh, what? Okay, I'm just going to sneak one here. There was no sneaking. There was, and it became very fast this time that when I was around somebody who smoked, it actually disgusted me. It actually turned me off. And that had never happened beforehand.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was thankful for that quick reaction.
Right.
And retraining, as you would say.
Right. Which shows that, again, we can program ourselves to disconnect from something to connect to something else.
Yeah.
We can be reprogrammed. It's just a matter of doing the work.
And having
involved.
the proper reason why.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Having your why
Yeah.
is something that you can ground yourself in.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So now you move into this new scenario. You're going for weight loss surgery.
Yeah.
Describe that situation, because that must have been something.
So I was heavy my entire life. Like I was 180 in high school.
Okay.
Yes, there was the teasing and the whatever, but I still had great friends. So it's like I heard the teasing, but it didn't really hit me.
Yeah.
I remember my mom bringing me to Weight Watchers when I was a young teenager. That was hard. And when my mom was passing away, her and I had quite a few discussions, and on as she was basically on her deathbed, and she apologized, she says, I hope you understand, like, it wasn't because of how you looked. It was, I was worried for your health. And now that I'm a parent, I understand where she was coming from. I wasn't a parent when my mom was sick.
Right.
She unfortunately never met my daughter. But now I understand. And it makes a lot more sense now. And so, and it was interesting having those conversations with her, and how she viewed my childhood and how I viewed my childhood. It was very different.
For sure.
Very, very different.
For sure.
That's it. So at my highest, I was 346 pounds. Yeah. So I had actually applied for weight loss surgery in 2013.
Yeah.
And so those who are listening and paying attention, that was, before my husband passed away. And so he wasn't quite sure about it at first, but then he came to the meetings. We had to meet with the team, the surgeon team and the nutritionist. And then once he started to hear, he figured he could definitely support me in this, and it could probably benefit him too in the long run.
Right.
Because he was the cook out of us too, right? So this was, a lot of it was going to be on him as well. So he was very supportive of the idea.
Yeah.
Fast forward to June of 2015 when he did pass away. It was 4 days after he passed away, and I get a phone call, and it's the bariatrics department at the hospital, and they're, Miss Roberts, we're so excited. We have a date for you. So you're going to start your liquid diet. So liquid diet is literally liquid diet, no eating. And it's very strict. There's some vegetables that you can have, but it's basically to reduce the amount of fat around your liver so that they can go in laparoscopically.
And is it broths you're drinking, or is it just like fruit smoothies? Okay.
Oh, not even fruit. Like no fruit.
Nothing.
No.
Oh, really?
It was literally like vegetables.
Broth.
And only certain vegetables too.
Okay.
Like it wasn't all vegetables.
You had to like blend it and.
Whichever way you wanted to get it down. Yeah. Whichever way you wanted to get it down.
Oh, okay.
And I remember my mom's friend, we stayed in contact after my mom passed away, and they were really, really good friends as I was growing up, and she had me over for Thanksgiving dinner when I was eventually on the 2-week liquid diet, and it was Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
And I saw everybody with all of her good food and the mashed potatoes and the turkey and all this. And I sat with my little like broth and cooked vegetables. And I was like, you know what? I'm dedicated. I'm
You
having
like
this.
smell someone's plate?
Pretty much, right?
Oh,
I'm
okay,
just gonna,
so
just gonna
it's
lick
the
it.
same thing. Yeah, give me the gravy. It's
right?
it's liquid.
So to go back, yeah. So the bariatric team called me 4 days after he passed, and they're all excited. And I went, I'm really sorry. I need to ask if we can postpone.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're sorry, Ms. Roberts. We can't do that because the surgery that you want is longer than most of them. So we need the ER for longer, the doctor for longer, the anesthesiologist for longer, and it's all scheduled. I'm sorry, you can't unless you have a really good reason. Me being the sarcastic self that I am, I'm sorry. Are you sitting down? She goes, yes. I'm like, okay, well, my husband passed away 4 days ago. So can we discuss this?
Pause that for 1 second.
Yeah. So I, again, my sarcastic self, and she went silent for a good 15 seconds. Hello? She's, oh, okay. So Miss Roberts, when would you like the surgery? And I was like, well, October. She's like, okay, we have October 21st. Perfect. Sign me up. And I remember telling people, they're like, okay, but that's only 4 months after your husband passed away. Like, is that not a bit much? And in my head, I was like, you know what? Let's get everything done in 2015, because 2016, kiddo and I, we're starting on the right foot. We're starting positive. We're going through this. We're starting a whole new life.
Yeah.
Looking back, should I have maybe taken a little bit more time? I don't know. It's hard because if I look at it from the weight loss surgery patient, I am so darn thankful I did it.
Yeah.
So darn thankful.
Yeah.
If I look at it as a widow, should I have taken the time and find out who I am as a widow, raising a 2-year-old? Yeah, maybe. But now I'm both, and it's done. And I'm just very, very thankful that I even had the surgery. It is not a quick fix at all. So anyway, thankfully I have not had the situation where someone goes, oh, well, you had the weight loss surgery. You took the easy way out, because I would have schooled them. Sit down, because it is totally mind-boggling what this does to you. The body dysmorphia, and it's what a lot of people don't understand too, is that there's transference of addiction, right? Because with food, we often just eat and eat and eat to fill a void. Now, literally, my stomach was smaller, so I couldn't fill what I needed to. So I think it's about 70% of bariatric patients do have a transference of addiction. Many of them go to drugs or drinking or spending money or a vast majority of things. Yeah. So, and actually, that's why I also stopped drinking 3.5 years ago. During the pandemic, was way too easy to start drinking. Yeah. And I was drinking too heavily. And bariatrics, we can't eat and drink at the same time.
Really?
Yeah. There's a fantastic YouTube video out there where it's a funnel. Okay. And they put porridge in the funnel. Yeah. And you see it just drip very slowly, because it shows you the food in a stomach. So it drips, and then the more liquid that you put in, the faster it goes through the stomach. So you're flushing out food faster, you're not absorbing properly, and you're hungrier faster. So technically, more people should actually not eat and drink at the same time.
Interesting.
Right?
Which I think I've heard that before. I think I've heard it before, that drinking water while you eat is actually not.
It's not the most beneficial thing.
Yeah. Yeah. You should actually. Is it you drink it after? I think. Or?
So for bariatrics, anyway, that's from what I can talk from that. Is you're supposed to stop 15 to 30 minutes prior to your meal and up to 45 minutes after your meal. So there is the reason of flushing out. Now, the surgery that I had also made my stomach smaller, but also bypassed about 80% of my small intestine. So I have very high chance of malabsorption. Right. So the faster I flow food through, the less I'm going to absorb the right ingredients, the right vitamins and such. So yes, I take about 13 vitamins a day, but that was something I signed up for. I was ready for that. Yeah. And so that's it. And also, it physically hurts me if I eat and drink at the same time. There's been times where I don't think about it and I'm actually on the floor in the fetal position because I'm in so much pain. Even 8.5 years later, I still make the mistake every now and then. And then, why did I do that?
Man.
But it's all been worth it, though. All been worth it.
Yeah. So what did you? What was the end tally by the time you?
Well, I've gone up and down.
Okay.
So I went from 346. And funny enough, when I was pregnant with kiddo, I had gestational diabetes.
Okay.
And so I had to be careful, and I had to do insulin twice a day. Like, it was a lot. And I actually lost 30 pounds when pregnant. I know, that was weird. Most women can't say that.
Yeah.
But yes, I lost 30 pounds when I was pregnant with her. But yes, so my highest, I was 346. I think surgery day, I was roughly 200. 300. And then my lowest, I've been down to 182.
Okay.
But I looked sickly. I looked like I was gone. Like I was, right in the collarbone was dipping in too much. I looked sickly. So then I put on a little bit in a good way. Cause in 2019, especially when you and I had crossed paths, I was doing CrossFit 3 times a day. I was doing private Olympic weightlift training, and I was running OCRs. So obstacle course races.
Yeah.
I was doing all of them. And so I miss feeling that strong. But regardless, pandemic hit after that. Who didn't gain weight during pandemic? We all got a little bit.
Everybody virtually raise your hands.
Right?
Just kidding.
We all got a little fluffy.
Joking.
But it's okay. Hey, we did what we had to do, right?
Exactly.
We survived. And that's what we needed to do. Fine. And now I'm sitting at a very comfortable, and actually during the pandemic, I went up to, I think it was 242.
Okay.
And that's when I realized how it felt on the inside to not feel good. I felt bloated often. I could feel my body was heavier. Yeah. And I wasn't comfortable. So then I actually just made very small adjustments. People laugh about this who know me. I used to often fall asleep on the couch at night. Well, it's because once kiddo goes to bed, that's like my first time in a day where I'm completely alone. Right? Because when I wake up at 6 a.m., then there's getting her ready for school, get her to school. Then I work all day. Then she comes home from school, dinner and all that. 9 o'clock at night is my first time to breathe.
Be by yourself.
Alone.
Yeah.
So of course I sit on the couch. But then I'm exhausted. So I fall asleep. And I'm up at 12 o'clock. Got to let the dog out, take my vitamins, get everything ready, what have you. So now I've wasted 45 minutes and go back to bed. Horrible sleep pattern. So now I've decided, okay, when she goes to bed, I go into my room, I plug in my phone, I listen to podcasts, read whatever. And then so what's happened is that now I'm actually falling asleep at like 9:30, 10 o'clock in my own bed,
right.
Which also has the second benefactor of I don't snack at night anymore because I'm sleeping. It's great. Yeah. And so now I'm down to a comfortable 213.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I feel very comfortable at that.
At where you are.
Yeah. Some people maybe, 200, but like, I don't know. Those who don't know me, I'm kind of built like a fridge, and I'm fine with that. And I'm good with that. I'm made for lifting. I'm not made for gymnastics, and I'm cool. I'm fine with. I'm proud of my
thick thighs. It's because you said it so like, I'm kind of built like a Maytag.
Right?
A little bit there. LG.
But I'm proud of my thick
doors.
Thighs. You know what I mean? Like and I've worked for the body that I have.
I was just having this conversation with a colleague because we were talking about how he was having a conversation with somebody on Friday and how he encouraged them to share something, post something, whatever. And they were like, no, I look terrible, whatever. And he's like, why do people think that about themselves? He goes, your confidence level is like low. And I realized this, that the last couple of conversations I've had with whether it be clients or just people in general, you listen to them speak and you go, your confidence is like, wow. But I think it's
wow
lovely.
Is good or bad?
Wow isn't like, ooh.
Ouch.
We gotta change that.
Yeah.
But I understand. I've been there before, so I get it. And we've all been there at some point in time. And it's difficult to get out of that train of thought. But when you get out of that train of thought, that's when everything changes.
100%.
You know,
And that's where I'm sitting now.
Yeah, and
that's where I'm sitting now. Because for 8 years, I had weight loss surgery and I was a solo parent. There was no time to okay, let's sit in my grief and make myself feel better. No. It was survival. It was raise this human being that I had, get back to health. There was no back. There was get healthy because I was never healthy before. So it was really 8 years of survival mode. But then it came to, well, I had weight loss surgery, so I need to lose weight. I need to do this. I need to lift. I should be able to lift heavier. I should do this. I should do that. I never feel like there's so many balls up in the air and I never feel like one of them is perfect.
Yeah.
I either feel like work is going well, so kiddo's paying for something, or having a great relationship with kiddo, but then something in the gym isn't working out well.
Yeah.
But again, in the last few months, doing all of this inner work and trying to be nicer to myself, now it's kind of, again, it wasn't going well in the gym, but I was able to see why.
Yeah.
It's because I've been doing the inner work. I've still been doing something. I've still been progressing somehow.
Yeah.
I've still been benefiting somehow. And it's the 8 years I'm finally trying to break down those walls of being so hard on myself.
Yeah.
Because it really didn't bring me any positivity at all. And now that I'm giving myself grace, and it's funny that you bring up the confidence, because as I'm giving myself grace, I'm feeling better and feeling better.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And it's the confidence is definitely going up kind of on its own. I'm not
good.
having to force it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. It's good that it's good that it's starting to come out and become more natural. And it's not a forced
No, that's
thing. It's not something you're just trying to squeeze out of a tube. It's there.
Which
It's
is
now.
I feel now, which is
Yeah.
what I was doing for the past 8 years, and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now I can see the difference.
Have you ever had a moment of, wait, this is where I am, like I'm by myself?
How so?
Is in a sense of again, conversations always lead to
Yeah,
some
go for
conversation.
it. Yeah, go for it.
I was talking to a client about this, and she said her husband had passed away, and her son, I think she was in the front yard or in the backyard watching her son get ready. He was going on a scooter going to meet his friends, and she said for the first time ever, she sat there and said, "He's okay. He's okay. He's good." And then it just became on her. She was like, "Wait a minute. I haven't dealt with this grief thing yet." But
Oh my goodness.
it just became like wow, I'm alone, How, I'm certain that there have been times that you felt that, but when was the first time that you've actually felt it, that you realized, whoa, I'm alone, but you were able to go back to the positive that you've been working on?
I think the whole catalyst was last year.
Okay.
When kiddo was leaving for sleepaway summer camp.
Okay.
And it happened to be the exact same day of my husband's 8th year passing.
Gotcha.
So here I am putting my only child on a bus that I'm not going to see for a month, and I'm going home, and it's like, but it's on, like, this happened 8 years ago. He took his last breath 8 years ago. That's when I hit the wall and I went, I have not grieved. I feel like I grieved in a certain way, but then once he finally passed, like I said before, I put up survival mode. I put up walls that I didn't even know I had put up on my own, more to my own self.
Yeah.
When I should have been putting up walls to outside.
Yeah.
I overshared a lot in trying to make connections with others. I overshared too much in the sense, and instead of, and I'm not saying keeping everything for me and internalizing everything, but at the same time, when you throw so much of yourself out there, you're telling people how to hurt you.
Interesting.
And I've only figured that out recently.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that in a negative way, and I'm not saying that it's more, I've come to the realization, when you throw so much out there, they know how to hurt you, but they also don't have to work at the good part of you.
Okay.
You're giving them your all, and they'll take it, positive and negative. But then that means they're not working to be your friend. And I'm not saying like someone has to work to be your friend.
Yeah.
But you have to work at trust. You have to work at friendship.
Right.
And when you just throw it all out there, they've won, because they like you're literally pouring all of it yourself, and they're not reciprocating. So it's easier to hurt someone that way. And so it's really, again, this is part of the learning that I'm going through and in having these conversations, because I don't actually think that I've vocalized that before until just now, when it kind of popped out on its own. And so yeah, it was definitely last summer was the catalyst. And it's funny too, because that happened in June, and then between August and mid-September, there was 5 weekends in a row that something revolving around my husband happened.
Gotcha.
And like I actually, one day, a few days before his birthday, which is in August, I started looking for Kiddo's passport. I have no idea why. I had zero intention of going anywhere. Yeah. But just, it was on my mind. I wanted to see when her passport expired. And my engagement ring fell out of my jewelry box. So I look at it, and of course it was much bigger. You know, it didn't fit because it was so big. And so I went, I'm going to give myself a gift. I'm going to go get it resized on his birthday. And I'm going to get it back for my birthday, which is in September 2nd. So it's about a month away. Well, it's a month from each other. And I went, so that's a gift from him to me, starting over. Gotcha. Going forward. So when I did bring it in, I kind of quickly told the person at the jewelry store the story. And she goes, okay, well, so the engagement ring, there's a rock in the middle and then 8 smaller rocks on the side. And she goes, well, when's your birthday? And I said, well, September. She said, sapphire, blue. And then when's Kiddo's birthday? January. So then that's garnet, red. So she goes, why don't we change the outside 2 for blue, the inside 2 for red, and keep his in the middle. Oh. No, and I love it.
That's cool.
Because now it's become a family ring, and I can put it back on and not feel like this is my engagement ring.
It's your family ring.
It's my family ring, and I'm moving on. So I can still have my something from him, but moving on into the future.
Shout out to that jeweler who gave that idea, because that is a fantastic idea.
But the story's not finished. Okay. This jeweler. Like this is, again, we could, like I said, you said, we could definitely do part 2, because what this jeweler did for me was absolutely amazing. So, because come September 1st, I still didn't hear about my ring. So I started to freak out. I called them, and they said, well, we're really sorry. The stone cutter hasn't gotten it back to us yet. Not enough employees and all this stuff. I lost my bananas. I'm bawling to this poor lady on the phone. I'm a widow and it's my ring. She goes, okay, I'll call you back. She calls me back about 2 hours later, and she goes, the owner of the store went from Dorio downtown, picked up your ring, is in traffic, but is coming back with your ring so you can have it tonight. Well, of course, I just started bawling all over again. And I'm, oh my goodness, thank you so much. And I said, so she's like, we close at 6. Can you be here? And I'm like, okay, well, I live in Rigo. I'll pack up Kiddo and I'll be there. She goes, oh, you live in Rigo? I do too. How about I bring it to you?
Come on.
I went, oh my goodness, oh my God. Her name's Sandra. I'm going to say it. Sandra, oh my goodness. So I'm crying. Perfect. Not much, so 45 minutes later, she shows up. She shows me the ring. I, again, start crying.
You cried like 4 times there.
Oh, my gosh. Absolutely. Yeah. And then, wouldn't you know it? So it's for those who out there who believe in universe is talking to you. Can you believe that this person, this host, she is also a widow.
Wow.
And she lost her husband 4 years prior. And she goes, but I had a good entourage to talk to. I was like, oh, why is that? I did my clergy studies so she could become a priest.
Oh, okay.
So then I just kind of, like everything in me went, okay, if this isn't universe telling me the door is now open, I went into survival mode. I've raised my human pretty darn well. This is right as Kiddo came out of the house. She went running by, hi, Sandra, and then just ran down the street. And Sandra goes, look, you've done perfectly amazing with her. It's your turn. And she goes, be gentle to yourself and the decisions that you had to make given the situation that you were in. Accept what you had to do, and now you can move on. And I mean, if that's not universe telling me, like, doors are open, this is the time, then it's universe is going to smack me some other way and saying, woman, if you're not listening,
Wow,
you're blind.
that's fun.
So it was definitely an impressive moment.
Well, Sandra,
Shout out.
you're a good person. You're a great person. That is fantastic.
Right?
You know, okay, now I'm going to ask you this question.
Go for it.
You're working on being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
This person showed kindness. Did you believe that you deserved it?
At the beginning of that conversation, no. After that conversation, yes.
And that's growth.
Because it literally
growth.
felt like my chest
Yeah.
opened up.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds so weird, but it really did feel like green, curtains full of, like I can almost see it. Green curtains with flowers and whatever literally just opened up into this fantasy world and kind of saying, it's time. Like it's time to work on you, and it's okay. Because I've worked on kiddo, and I've worked on my life and my job and my kid, my career, my all this. Yeah. And now it's me time.
So with that said, where are you at now?
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
That's good. That's really
good
to hear.
And it's I don't want to say it's weird.
Yeah.
It just feels weird because I've never been I thought in the past I was good, I was strong. No, I was just lying to myself.
Yeah.
Lying to myself just, to get through another day or what have you. And also for the first time in a long time, like yes, I'm single, and yes, I was on the dating apps, and yes, there was quite a few different stories, which we are not going to make public.
That's another conversation.
Oh no, that's just a whole nother show, Kareem. Yeah, that's just a whole nother show. We're not even going to go down that road.
Oh man.
But from those, and we were discussing, from those situations, those events, there's so much I can learn and have been learning. I've been listening to podcasts and, like how to go through a relationship, and then like the anxious attachment, and whoa, yeah, that was me. And then how to work through that, and why do I feel a certain way, and why do I do things the way that I do? Yeah. And so, I'm sitting here for the first time in, I think, ever, no dating apps, and I actually don't want to meet somebody right now. I went on a first date a few weekends ago, and I said to Glenn, I was like, you know what? I'm actually really not ready. And I've never said that before. Yeah. And I've never genuinely felt that before.
Yeah, but at least you're honest.
Yeah.
You're honest.
Well, I need to, because the whole past 8 years, I wasn't honest. Yeah. And now I am, and now I have to be. And it's no, I'm good. I'm good alone. I'm good in my nice little bubble out in the country. Have kiddo, staying awesome. In my lane.
That's awesome. So to persons who have experienced what you've experienced, gone through ups and downs, ebbs and flows, lots of waves, experienced grief, one scenario after another. Obviously, you've been able to construct strategies that have helped you. What would you say are a couple of strategies that you implemented that someone can implement today for themselves that would definitely help them?
I know it's hard, and I know when something bad happens, again, like we mentioned before, it's so easy to sit in the negative. Okay, but so my mom died, my step-grandmother died, my grandfather, my stepdad, and then my husband. And I remember my girlfriend, she was my maid of honor. She comes up to me, she was crying because she really loved my husband. I mean, everyone did. And she was crying, and I remember her, Erin, why does this keep happening to you? Why does this keep happening to you? It's so unfair. And I went, but hold on though, and it kind of flashed, and it didn't happen to me. I was graced with being in these people's lives. Their moments were to change journeys. They were called on a different journey. That's not me. That's not my life. That's part of my life. That's part of my story.
Right.
And how dare I, and I've said this before and people just kind of, it hit them. How dare I not live my life because somebody else isn't living anymore? I have to live my life, and I have to live it positively.
Yeah.
And I have to go through, and I want to enjoy life.
Right.
I don't want to sit in the negative
Right.
anymore.
Right.
I want to enjoy life, and I want to enjoy kiddo. And she's only this age for today.
Yeah.
You know, we're only this age for today.
Yeah. We're the youngest we can be. We're the youngest we are.
We are the youngest that we're ever going to be right
ever
now.
going to be right now.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the right word. That doesn't make any sense. We're the youngest we are. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really just, and you know, and it's, I think we are also, it's so hard to believe, but I would like to think, not everyone agrees with me on this one, but I would like to think we are dealt the cards that we can handle. Because I look at my girlfriend, and clearly in that moment, I don't think she could have handled what I went through. And that's okay.
Yeah.
So that's my job to go through what I went through. She goes through other things.
Yeah.
But that's her job.
Yeah.
To go through. And that's for me to watch her journey, enjoy her journey, learn from her journey, and support her journey and her story and her chapters and whatever. And then so now I feel like with my journey and my story, I should be using that to help others. We can choose what we want to do from the lessons that we are taught. And I choose to do positive, and I want somebody to be inspired. I want somebody to go, oh, I had a crappy day yesterday, but it could be worse. You know, or this negative happened. Okay, but I want to be able to have somebody go like, okay, wait, I'm going to do what she did. Stop. What are the positives out of this? What can I gain out of this? What is good? What can I learn from this?
Yeah.
That's it. If I could just, if one person can just feel better about hearing this, and like I would love to do motivational speaking. I'd love to just share and help people feel better.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. I think that like you were talking about your friend's experience, yours, and various and respective journeys, is that we learn from each other.
Absolutely.
So whatever scenario that I've experienced, Erin can learn from me. Whatever experience you've gone through, I can learn from Erin. We can learn from your daughter. You can learn, and everyone can learn from each other as to, you know, how to grow up in a setting where, you know, you lose a parent at an age you don't know who they are. You know, lose a sibling, lose a parent, whatnot. There's doesn't even have to be losses. It could be just how you overcame and how you became victorious in certain lights, because, you know, you were hit with adversity and you were resilient, or you built your resilience and you were able to bounce back from that, which I think is great. Who would you say are part of your circle right now that helps you to keep going forward?
I definitely have. And I laugh because if they're listening, they absolutely know who I'm talking about. Yeah. But there's definitely a set of friends who, you know, like we go to her camper during the summer, and it's fantastic because we don't like to people very much unless like I choose to. So we go to her camper and we don't have to people, and we can look at each other and be like, can we just sit here in silence? And we've literally just sat there in silence. It's fantastic. Or then, you know, like the other girlfriend that I spoke about earlier, where I can have hour-long conversations with her, and we're on the same similar journeys of trying to work on the inner self and be happier and listen to all of this stuff that could make us better. So for her, absolutely. And then my CrossFit family. I mean, that has definitely, and I didn't realize it, but it's my 6-year anniversary of being at that facility, at that box.
Awesome.
And
what location is it?
CrossFit de la Cité.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with Jeannie.
Nice.
And that community is just my second family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's great when you have people that can be there to.
Yeah, and to actually go back to when you said like we need to check in on people more.
Yeah.
I have definitely had a few of them out of nowhere. Hey, are you okay? Haven't seen you in a while. Jeannie, my goodness, if I'm not in class for a certain amount of time, she this might sound bad, but she gets these witchy feelings, and she emails me. She's like, "You good?" I'm like, "No." She knows when I'm not good.
Yeah.
So
it's intuition.
It's 100%.
Yeah, when you're empathetic to people, you can read them well.
Well, she has quite a connection with me too, because and we laugh about this, because when I had first started CrossFit, I was maybe a month or two in, and she did not know my story very much, definitely not into even as much detail as today. And I remember we were doing a WOD, and we were really doing something, and I guess she went to go give me a verbal cue. Robin. What? Well, I just kept doing what I was doing. Robin. She called me Robin a few times. And I look at her, I'm like, "You talking to me?" She says, "Yes, do this properly." And I went, "Okay, but I'm Erin. Why did you call me Robin?" She's like, I don't know.
Okay.
But that's my mom's name.
Ah.
It's my mom's name. And it's happened a couple of other times. So when it happens, we're like, "Oh, my mom's talking to me. She's saying hi." And it's funny because she had zero clue that was my mom's name.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're definitely a big part of my journey.
That's amazing.
For sure.
Well, it's amazing when you are able to express gratitude for such persons, because which I think is very important, that we do that. Any opportunity that we have to do that, express gratitude for the people who have been able to support you and help you, and help us all together. Because at the end of the day, we're all aiming to be better and to be healthier for each other. To be there to be able to support one another. Because these days it's difficult. It's quite a difficult time that we're living in right now. But it doesn't mean that it's the end. It doesn't mean that it has to be the end of a story. It just means that here's a chapter where everything kind of goes a little sour. But then there's going to be, like you said,
another high.
There's going to be another high that comes. And we just have to be able to ride those waves.
And enjoy it.
For
the good and the bad.
There you go.
Yeah.
As everything passes through. Erin, this conversation has been spot on fantastic.
Well,
spot on fantastic. So I want to invite your daughter.
Oh, I love that.
I want her to come. I just want to ask her a question. Is she tell her to come.
Okay, hold on.
Tell her to come. This has been fantastic so far, and I appreciate Erin for coming in and wanting to have a sit down with us, because it's so important that we have these type of conversations to get to know about people, to learn about their experience. Tell her to come with her crutches. We need this.
She's looking over.
Oh yeah. Kiddo. Come on. How are you? Good. Just talking to the microphone there. You have a little seat there. Boom. Look at that. You can join her, Mom. Go ahead. Yeah, you can join her. Of course. How you feeling? How'd you hurt your leg?
Well, on Wednesday I fell off of the play structure.
Okay.
And on Thursday, my mom was really nice, and she took me to the doctors to see if there was anything wrong.
Sorry.
So, and we asked, we told the doctor that we had crutches at home.
Mm-hmm.
So do I use them? And she said yes for a couple of days.
Okay.
So
you're recovering right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're. Would you say you're as resilient as your mom is? Because your mom is a pretty resilient person. Or do you get that from her?
Kind of.
Yeah.
No.
Resilient means like if you fall, you get back up and you keep going.
Kind of.
Kind of like that?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. That's good. Well, I wanted to have you on because she said you were excited about her being on the show today. So I wanted to make sure that you got a chance to speak a little bit. How do you help your mom out at home?
Well, I do the dishes with her.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it for now.
I try to be as helpful as I can.
You feed the dog.
I feed the dog.
And you feed the dog too.
And now I'm doing the pills of the dog because he was driving my mom bananas. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's good that you're able to help her out because, any way that you can help and be able to learn these things when you're still young, it's good because you can take those things on and apply them when you get older. So definitely looking forward to that. So what sports are you into?
I'm into cheerleading.
Okay.
Into horseback riding.
Okay.
And like this thing, aerial circus. I really like it.
Oh, nice.
And they're really great.
Do you do CrossFit too?
Yeah.
Yeah, CrossFit Kids. What's your PR? I'm kidding. You'll learn later on. It's fine.
When weightlifting, how heavy did you lift?
Oh, the heaviest I've weighted, I think, was 55 pounds.
55 pounds. Nice.
And I want to thank my mom for that and her partner.
And your
coach.
partners as well. Okay, that's awesome. Well, listen, I hope you keep progressing in that direction, because we're out here trying to get strong, be as strong as you can physically and also mentally, and be able to help your mom out. She's a great person. So I'm glad you're able to come in and join us. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Thanks, guys, so much for being here. This episode has been fantastic. I think there's a lot to learn from this, and there's definitely going to be a part 2. We'll talk to you a bit more too in part 2 as well. Make sure you have you on there, and we can talk more about your list when you get to 65 pounds, and we'll talk about that too. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys, so much. Erin, thank you so much for joining us today. I think today's episode is going to be an eye-opener, game changer for a lot of people.
I hope so.
People can definitely benefit from what you have to share. And please, please, please just keep pushing forward. You know,
absolutely.
As challenging as it can be, you have the right support. You have Kiddo here as a great support there, and you have others as well in your life that can help you as well. So, and always remember too, guys, it's very important that we tap in and check in with each other, because the more that we can sharpen each other, the more stronger we'll be going forward. The First 5 podcast, back in the building again, is available on Spotify, Apple, Google, and now Amazon Music, in addition to other streaming platforms around the world. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at the First 5 podcast for your weekly dose of mental motivation and inspiration, as we aim to help you be the best version of you 1% at a time. Also, for free fitness, game, and motivation or movement inspiration, make sure to follow us at goodfit_fitness as well. More episodes, more interviews, and more energy is on the way, so please continue to keep it locked. It's your boy, Coach K, Erin Roberts, Kiddo. Thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate it, guys. Take care. Have a great one, and enjoy.
Wishing they all knew what I do this for. Victory, and I just want us all winning. You deserve it all in it. So use your results.